Greetings, citizens. My name is FailureToReport, and God, is it an amazing time to be alive. This morning of May 1st, forever remembered in the sacred text of Robert's Pantheon, Forbes published an article talking all about Star Citizen. While this article is live on the Forbes website now, it's also scheduled to be published in the May 31st issue of the magazine proper. And in this article, the writers go deep into Star Citizen and its development history. I mean, like, stuff you don't see outside of the channels like this one deep. Now, while some of you channel regulars have probably heard some of these topics before in past videos here, I really want to go over at least a few key parts of this article because it's being published in an actual magazine, and anytime I talk about this stuff in the past, I get gangbanged by fanatical backers screaming up and down that I'm lying. Well, it's in fucking writing now, kiddo, and if this article was all lies, I'm sure CIG would be sending their legal team over to Forbes, right? No? Huh. I wonder why that is. There's really just so much in this article that trying to structure this video is going to be a nightmare, so I'm going to try to keep their article structure mostly intact and just talk about the sections that I feel are really relevant and worth discussing. So, without further delay, let's start with their 5th paragraph, as the first 4 are essentially introing the reader to what Star Citizen is and reliving the 2018 CitizenCon, and I'd really rather forget that nightmare. But I digress. The article continues on describing Star Citizen as rough playable modes, alphas, not betas, which are used to raise the hopes and illustrate work being done. And Roberts has enticed gamers with a steady stream of hype, including promising a vast playable universe with 100 star systems. But most of the money is gone, and the game is still far from finished. Now, this is going to be a bit of a broken record for any of you who have been OG failures, because we've talked about how CIG is playing a dangerous balancing act with their financial status for years now, but more importantly, how the Stanton system, which the current persistent universe takes place in, was supposed to have been fully completed in Star Citizen 3.0, which was delayed a year for polishing according to CIG, only to show up in December 2017 with not even a quarter of the system completed, as well as missing a lion's share of the gameplay mechanics that were supposed to have been promised for this. Fast forward from December 2017 to May 1st, 2019, and we now sit at approximately 70% of the Stanton system completed, still needing Microtech and her moons, as well as the orbital station and the gas giant Crusader. After 16 months, they've managed to almost complete one system. Keep that in mind when weighing the likelihood of getting those promised 100 systems at launch. And furthermore, when Chris did an interview with GameStar back in 2017 where he was supposedly misquoted as saying, Star Citizen will have 5 to 10 star systems at launch, many people like myself gave a sigh of relief over the seemingly reality-based intent. Yet the devoted children screamed at us that we will have all the systems, dozens and dozens of them. Chris was just misquoted. So, now here we sit, in 2019, with still only one incomplete star system out of over 100. And it's looking more and more like that goal of 5 to 10 systems at release would have been an admirable goal for the rate CIG is managing to turn them out. Moving on, the article then goes on to say, this is not fraud, Roberts really is working on a game, but it is an incompetence and mismanagement on a galactic scale. So I want to hit the pause right there, because I get a lot of fanboys cruising into the channel comments going, if it is a scam, how can they be making a game? Checkmate, atheist. Now, I've called Star Citizen a scam a few times on this channel, and I'm man enough to stick to my own words. When I call Star Citizen a scam, I'm not saying that Chris is banking everybody's money and not making a game at all while he jacks off to the Cayman Islands. They are very clearly working on Star Citizen in Squadron 42. But when I call Star Citizen a scam, I'm talking about the fact that it will never deliver on the promises they are selling. If I put up a listing for a Tesla with auto drive features, and you buy my car online with the promise that when I deliver it, you'll get all those cool features in my ad, but then I roll up with a busted Geo Metro rebadged as a Tesla that has a 4x4 you can jam into the steering wheel and cruise control for the speed, you'd probably call me a scammer for taking your money, right? This is how I see Star Citizen. Chris has sold so many far-reaching dreams and ideas to the backers because he needs to throw the widest net possible. He lured in the PvE space truckers with the promise of a PvP slider or switch. He He suckered in the single-player co-op guys with promises of Squadron 42 having drop-in, drop-out co-op, story-driven gameplay in a world you can influence when Squadron 42 has already gutted the co-op element, and I can promise you that that game is going to be a theme park on rails. Hey, all you aspiring Star Citizen modders, remember when he promised you guys full modding support for Star Citizen? Or how about them private servers? None of that is ever going to happen. Quote me. So when I call Star Citizen a scam, it's based on CIG and Chris never saying never to literally any idea that they could possibly use to market to suck in new money. Still to this day, there are people in Spectrum chat insisting that you will have thousands of people in one instance all able to fight and do things together. This will never happen in Star Citizen, and Chris basically said as much in CitizenCon 2018. Rolling forward with the article though, there's a great paragraph in here shortly after the mismanagement quote about Chris's history in both the gaming industry and the film industry that is really worth the read. But I want to jump to the bottom of that where they go on to say, Forbes spoke to 20 people who used to work for Cloud Imperium, many of whom depict Roberts as a micromanager and a poor steward of resources. They describe the work environment as chaotic. Now, I want to stress that this is Forbes, and they would absolutely get bombed with a lawsuit for publishing this if it was a fabrication. But more importantly, I want to point out that for the last year and a half roughly, I've been making comments in my videos and posts indicating that I've talked to former CIG employees who have said exactly this, and I have been at every turn called a liar by the cult boy fanatics. I've talked about how Chris overcomplicates literally every game system and mechanic unnecessarily. I've talked about how he has to have every single thing run through him in a company of over 500 employees and 5 studios spanning multiple time zones across the globe. That's a nightmare recipe for congested workflow. I can't count how many times I've discreetly talked about an issue that I had discussed with a former employee who actually worked on the system, only to have some idiot come into the comments telling me, "You don't understand game development." Well, then I guess no one does if the people who are literally working on the game don't get it either, huh? The point in all of this is pretty simple though. Even after this Forbes article, there are dozens and dozens of backers deploying to every front they can so that they can scream that this whole article is fake. Despite this being published in an outlet that would absolutely be held accountable, they still can't accept any reality besides the one where everything is amazing over at Cloud Imperium and Chris is a protege to the gaming industry. Now, I can understand when some random nobody like myself tries insisting that these things are facts and actually happening, but I can't back them up without exposing people that I promised would stay anonymous. But when a publication gives quotes of people they interviewed for the article, there's some very real legal checks involved in putting that out to a public viewing. Wake up, Kool-Aid boys. It isn't actually all roses over there. I know, that's daunting. In the next section of the article, they go on to talk about the financial transparency over at Cloud Imperium by saying, up to a point, Roberts has been transparent about where the money has been going. He released years' worth of financial statements last December, but he won't say how much he or other top Cloud Imperium execs have made from the project. They also go on to note that Chris's wife and brother are both senior position holders in this company. Now, I'm not going to beat the nepotism thing any further into the ground because it's been done for years. Though Chris didn't exactly help keep the tinfoil hats away when he and Sandy kind of downplayed the fact that they were a couple for the longest time. But regardless, I don't have an issue with somebody working with family. I do, however, think in a project like Star Citizen that was supposed to be kickstarted on backer pledges and faith, it should have been a no-brainer to be transparent about executive salaries. Now, this usually is where I say something like that, and then fanboys jump in here screaming, well, you don't see AAA companies telling you how much they're paying salaries or giving you financial statements. Oh shit, guys, but wait. They do publish salaries for all of their board and CEOs and their financial expenditure. Shit, and get this is the really hilarious part. They aren't even making their games with our money, where Star Citizen is actually taking payments before they even have a game to beta. It's like deep-level pre-ordering, but with none of the checks and balances or transparency of those evil AAA studios and publishers. Furthermore, the published financials from Cloud Imperium were not a complete listing. They make no account for refunds, and there's also no mention of the loans out against Star Citizen. In case you weren't aware, they literally put their IP up as a collateral for a loan. And these would never have come out at all if it weren't for UK regulations that force CIG to disclose these kind of things, which means we have no idea what is stateside. You always see hardline backers saying how transparent CIG is. Yeah, they're a glass window, after they've been caught or called out for something. Now at this point in the article, they do a deep dive on Chris's professional history with the game industry, as well as the film industry, talking about the various projects he's been in, but there are a few important things of note in these paragraphs, such as Roberts expanded on the idea of a living, breathing universe when he announced Freelancer in 1999, 2 years after the start of its development. At the same time, Roberts convinced 20th Century Fox to back a $30 million movie version of Wing Commander, which went on to lose nearly $20 million. Stuart Mulder, the Microsoft general manager who oversaw the company's relationship with Chris Roberts' Digital Anvil, came to believe that Microsoft's money intended for the game development was instead used for Wing Commander's movie. He went on to say, Roberts' energy and attention and some of the funds were siphoned off for that movie. The Digital Anvil investment has to be looked at largely as a failure. You see, after 3 years of Chris supposedly working on Freelancer, Microsoft was left holding the bill with nothing to show for the game's progress. So, in an attempt to salvage the project, they bought controlling interest of Digital Anvil in 2001, so that they could ground Freelancer in some kind of actual reality with what could realistically be completed. While the article stops there on discussing Freelancer, there's no shortage of internet rumors that came out once the Freelancer development was taken over by Microsoft, essentially saying they had to fully rebuild the game because what Chris had turned over was an absolute mess of just ideas. This all kind of sounds familiar for some reason. I can't really put my finger on it though. Now, I'm not one for judging people's personal lives. While I think it's adorable when fanboy fanatics come into this channel insisting I have various mental illnesses for saying mean things about their dream game, I try not to comment on a person outside of how it relates to Star Citizen. There are Star Citizen content creators I can't stand based on how they behave regarding Star Citizen, but if the game was completely removed out of the scenario, I'd probably have a beer with some of them. Except that dinosaur weirdo. That dude is rapey as hell. That said, while I go really hard on Chris and Sandy as they relate to Star Citizen's development and management, or marketing practices since Sandy is in charge of that arm, this article then goes on to dig up some of Chris and Sandy's personal life, recounting a documented incident where, on a Saturday in 2007, a trespasser slipped by a security gate and entered Chris Roberts' LA home. Inside, Madison Peterson, Roberts' former common-law wife, with whom he had a long on-and-off relationship, was startled and feared for her young daughter, that she could be harmed or kidnapped. This trespasser was later identified to be Sandy Gardner, Chris's now current wife. Roberts reported the incident to the police and a California judge issued a temporary restraining order. There's some more in there recounting their personal lives, but one of the last sentences in this section goes on to say, despite the documentation, Gardner flatly denies the incidents took place. Now, again, I'm not a fan of putting somebody's personal life in crosshairs because, hey, if you're trying to Playboy two chicks, you do you as long as nobody's getting hurt, I guess. However, this section of the article was interesting in that it gives another glimpse into the character of Sandy Gardner. Now, I'm not a licensed psychiatrist, and I'm not qualified to make claims about anybody's mental state, even though every backer fanboy seems to be one. I will, however, say that if I was dating a girl who acted like that, I know what word I'd use to describe her to my friends. However, that isn't where I'm going with this. You see, for years now there's been talk from former employees about how a certain member of management treated developers basically like they were personal assistants. How Sandy drove off Chelsea Day because she was so beloved by the backers that it was taking the spotlight away from Sandy.
Here does, of course.
Yeah, Sandy, you should tell us about how intense that process was to get your face scanned and all of that.
Yeah, what's it like acting without a set?
Yeah, I mean, it's like being 5. There's nothing to play with except wood and, there was joysticks.
So it was It adds a lot of credibility to the claims about Sandy's character and allegations of a toxic work environment when you see a police report documenting this kind of behavior. At this point, the article goes on to talk about a topic we are all miserably familiar with: concept ship sales, war bonds, and all that miserable crap that's haunted Star Citizen throughout its development and only steadily gotten worse and more anti-consumer. Yay for crowdfunded transparency, right guys? I do, however, want to touch on one of the later sections of the article, though, which includes a quote from Bossman himself. Star Citizen is a playable game, Roberts insists. It has more functionality and content than a lot of finished games. And goes on to claim 40,000 people have played the game together online over a recent week. And criticism of Cloud Imperium's development is fueled by online trolls. Alright, stop. Legit. Hold up. First and foremost, this dude is smoking some hardcore laced shit. 40,000 people playing Star Citizen together? In what dimension is this happening? Because Star Citizen averages maybe a couple hundred views on Twitch, and it was even worse than that before magically after getting a $46 million stimulus for marketing, Rexzilla suddenly starts streaming the same crap every day for Star Citizen, importing some of his viewer base. I guess it must be just server magic that every time I jump on Star Citizen, I end up on a server with the same people I see every day. Those must be some incredible odds if there's 40,000 people playing, but I'm always seeing the exact same people that I'm not friends listed with. Huh. I guess I just don't understand server development. Furthermore, let's talk about this criticism of CIG is fueled by online trolls. Yeah, thanks Chris. It's nice to know that you value our impact on Star Citizen so heavily. Let's talk about all that viral influencing really quick. First and foremost, I think I might have the largest overtly critical channel focused on Star Citizen. I am open to somebody providing another channel. And I'm not talking about channels that are pro Star Citizen and also talk about the issues here and there with the game. I'm willing to own that I go pretty hard after Cloud Imperium as a company and Star Citizen's development. Outside of my tiny little troll factory I've got here, there's the refund subreddit, which you have fostered by breeding a toxic environment where you can't talk about Star Citizen's topics that your moderators are told are taboo, so they go banning people sporadically under a catch-all forum rule that you can apply to literally any situation you might feel makes Star Citizen look bad. And then, let's see, enabling the fanboys to personally attack anybody doubting the glorious vision? You did that. I didn't do it. Derek Smart didn't do it. You did, you daft narcissist. You are so full of yourself that you still seem to think that no form of blame should ever possibly stick to you. Motherfucking Teflon dev in the house! Thanks, Chris. It's good to know that you're accountable. I'd also love to know what online trolls Chris thinks are responsible for everybody outside of the Star Citizen community looking at this project like it's a meme. Because there's the refund sub, there's Something Awful forums, both of which basically serve the same purpose of giving people a platform to speak freely about Star Citizen without fear of repercussions. And then there are a few small channels which are absolutely tiny compared to your CIG affiliated channels. And furthermore, Chris, as much as I make content reaming you guys for your poor decisions, especially in marketing, backer loyalty decisions, or design choices and so forth, I'm at least fair, and I have reached out to your company's PR email listed on your website multiple times before making a video. But I have yet to ever get a response. So I guess you aren't that concerned with giving your side, even though I'm willing to put it into my content. It's almost like troll channels like mine don't matter to you because we aren't your unofficial spokespeople. But yet here you are, throwing all the blame for the criticism of your project at us. That's really astounding. It's a shame your public relations team isn't as good as your marketing team, isn't it? Now, this whole video is very lightly glossing over the entirety of the Forbes article, but I did feel compelled to talk about some of these points because I've been sitting on this project since 2013, and I've been making content on this little YouTube channel that I don't share, I don't post anywhere, I don't ask other people to like, subscribe, and share, and yet every day I have notifications from fans calling the content on my channel lies, misinformation, clickbait. Look, bub, just because Star Citizen's development has been a quagmire of development woes, anti-backer practices, and delays doesn't make the historical facts of the game's development misinformation or lies. I find no amount of amusement when backers want to scream FUD at people who discuss the controversial aspects of Star Citizen when that term should really just mean facts you disapprove. Star Citizen has a very vocal and an active portion of its community that just can't accept a reality where Chris isn't a celestial being brought to Earth to save gaming. I have no shit seen phrases like, Chris is going to completely revolutionize the industry, or Star Citizen is going to have such an impact on gaming, I wouldn't be surprised if it changed cultures as well. Look guys, Star Citizen is an idea. It isn't even an original one. I can't count how many backers I've talked to who I can share my reason for backing Star Citizen as, man, I always wanted a Star Wars game where you can command those Imperial Star Destroyers in fleet battles as an individual, dock at stations, go down to planets. And while I was begging for this back when I was flying X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, this dream universe was only more cemented after Star Wars Galaxies did their jump to lightspeed expansion. You know, the Star Wars game that lets you have houses on planets, dozens of professions, crafting, mining, economy play, character combat that also included launching up into space in your ships ranging from fighters like the X-Wing and TIE Fighter to ships like the YT-1300 or the YE-4 gunship. Oh yeah, and those big ships, multi-crew with full interiors that you could also completely customize the inside of. Gee, what an original idea the visionary Chris Roberts is. No one has ever done anything like Star Citizen before. When did that game come out again? 2003? I guess it's a good thing Chris has had 9 years to come up with his vision that nobody else has ever had before, right? Now, don't get me wrong, Star Wars Galaxies is dead and buried. And I do want Star Citizen to happen because there's nothing close to Star Wars Galaxies on the horizon that we know of. And if that means supporting a megalomaniac's project, I was willing to do that if it meant I got to relive Galaxies on a modern engine with further depth. I still to this day hope that Cloud Imperium can pull off an amazing game. But the amount of people who want to shove their heads so far into the sand is astounding. There are plenty of things in this project that need to be talked about. From the management to the overreaching ambition and the morons who constantly sweep the internet for any dissent only to shield Star Citizen with, it's an alpha, you can't talk bad about it, wait until release. Those people are only making this game's issues worse. Pull your head out, citizen. Almost all of us want the same thing for Star Citizen, an enjoyable game we can spend years in. If you can't accept that there are problems that need to be talked about now versus after the game's release, you better have your life vest ready because you're literally sinking your own dreamboat, bud. With all that said, if you are an onlooker to this whole fiasco and you have no idea what Star Citizen actually is or what all of this fuss is about, there's a free fly trial going on from May 1st until May 8th. All you have to do is register an account at Roberts Space Industries website, click the free fly event banner on the website after making an account, and enter the code GETINTOTHEVERSE, which I strongly encourage anybody interested to do. You can listen to 100 people talk about this game, but the best way to have an informed opinion is to try it for yourself. Additionally, if you own Star Citizen, but only a crap ship like an Aurora or a Mustang, you can also use that code to unlock all of the free fly ships for the duration of the event. At any rate, my name is FailureToReport. I hope you managed to make it through the video learning something new about Star Citizen and its development. And I strongly encourage each and every one of you to read the entire Forbes article yourself if you haven't. There is a lot of information in that article that people like myself have been trying to point out for a long time now, but it's always pushed down with some white knight excuse. But hey, now it's published in a very public platform. If it's all lies and FUD, why are they getting away with it, fanboy? Checkmate, believer.